What's up, Gearholics? This is me, Zach here, and I'm doing another review, another gear review for you. Basically, I'm going to do another review. Today, it's going to be on the Gerber Back Paxe. There are I think this is the Back Paxe 1, so it's the first generation. There is a Back Paxe 2 out there, and these are the smaller version of their line of Gerber's brand. The actual blade itself, or the axe itself, is part of a line of knives that, or a line of axes that Gerber has produced, and they range in different size and different handle lengths and different weights for different tasks. This primary axe would be most likely a backpacking axe for long distance backpacking trips where you would need to process a large amount of wood, or maybe not a large amount of wood, but a small amount of wood, and basically a camp axe, for doing camp chores such as chopping things or hammering in tent stakes, which has been its primary role for me, and has really functioned really well in that role. Honestly, this this axe is absolutely incredible, and I have yet to run into any kind of problem with quality or blade with this particular axe. And I love this thing, and I've had this axe particularly for, oh man, maybe 5 years, 6 years, a long time. It's been a long, long time. And I love this axe. I generally have a real connection with this particular blade. But I'll go ahead and give you guys the actual specs. The actual blade, the actual length of the axe itself is 9 inches. The actual blade length, let me get it out. The actual blade length on the axe is 2.7 inches, so it's a 2.7 inch cutting surface. It's a 9 inches overall with the handle, and then it's around the 5 inches long or wide right here. And then I guess, let me see. Actually, the general it's right around an inch. I would go ahead and guess right around an inch in length from the head to the butt. The maximum length being 1 inch wide. This head is more like 3/4 of an inch wide, so still a very decent sized blade. It is 16 ounces in total weight, and the handle material is it's what they call a fiber handle, or a fiber composition handle. So it's made out of some sort of high impact fiber, some sort of high impact fiber. I don't know what I'm saying. It's a very hard, rigid plastic, maybe almost like a polypropylene or something. Maybe something not like that, but that's the only thing I can really generally get a good idea for. It is just a high density plastic. I'm not really sure what the handle material is made out of. The blade is actually, I think it's some sort of carbon steel it's a drop forged steel. It has a rock wall hardness of 55, so it is a rather softer steel, and it is sandwiched. I think they have a better blade composition right here, sandwiched in between the blade. They're kind of elusive as to how they actually make most of their blade products, especially the Gerber line of knives. This particular knife, though, is not. It is a Gerber knife, but it is produced by Fiskars, and there's the Fiskars logo right there on the very bottom, and that is from Finland. So it is a Finnish knife, or it's based on their line of axes, and so they're kind of in a way teaming up with Gerber. I personally, I cannot say how amazing the Fiskar brand of axes are. I really do like Gerber. There are some things that I like and I don't like that they produce, but this is one of those things that I truly, honestly, really like. Especially in their line of axes. I believe this axe runs for. Let me check the actual prices. I think this axe runs in the $30 range, the $32 range. That is what I'm seeing right here on some of these websites. Sorry, I didn't mean to be checking the websites while I'm doing a review. But basically, the $32 range, which is actually a really decent price for an axe of this size, could be less. I mean, I think they could drop the price of this knife down a little bit more and make sales just soar. I am not a business major, so I do not know how business works, but I feel as if the price on this is a decent price, but it's not a great price. There are probably better blades out there, or better axes that you could probably find for less. But it is a decent quality blade, and for what you're paying for it, you actually are getting a lot of axe for what you're paying for. That being said, I really, really, really do enjoy this actual axe. I've used it for a very long time. I've used it to hammer in tin steaks. I've used it to chop a lot of wood, process a lot of wood. There's so many different functions that you can use this axe for. Generally, I like to choke up on it, and I can actually do a lot of carving with this axe. It really is a great axe. The handle is very hollow. It is a hollow handle, so it does go up quite a long ways. I want to say it terminates right around here. The great thing about it is the actual head itself is formed around the blade, or the head of the handle is actually embedded inside the plastic handle, or the polypropylene handle, and that's not bad. The only downside to an axe like this is that when your handle is actually attached to the head like this, if something happens and you crack the actual head like this, you are literally going to have to find another way to attach this onto a handle, this entire head onto a handle, or find a secondary function for it. I have not heard of anybody that I know of who owns this same particular axe having any kind of cracking issues or anything in any kind of environments. So I don't know how realistic that really is. I guess eventually this knife would break down over time if you were to use it for a long periods of time, but I feel as if it would last a lot longer than a wooden handled knife, just because of the plastic materials in which the handle is made out of, and the fact that the actual blade itself is titanium nitride coated with some. I think it's a titanium nitride coating, and as you see on mine, it's been well worn away and is very thin, or at least from my experience, it is weathered very well and has really increased the longevity of the actual blade itself. And I have actually sharpened that blade many, many, many times, down to the point where it is almost a buff finish. But right now it's not looking good, and it's still got some wood debris on there, which is good. It's got some battle damage, and I like my knives really used, and I really use my knives as much as I can. And I've used the back of this quite a bit for hammering in tent stakes, or breaking open nuts or things that I find in the forest while I'm foraging or having fun, outdoors. It does has a very generous lanyard loophole that goes all the way through. If you can see my finger on the other side, and I did put a lanyard through mine. I did use Nightline, which is a high visibility night. It's like a nylon rope that has reflective material woven into it, and the reason why I put that on there is because the blade itself is actually very dark, and at night when you use this, and maybe you're using it at night, sometimes you will put it down on the ground, or maybe stick it in a log and forget where it is. And sometimes it's nice if you have a headlamp, you can shine your headlamp or your light on the actual night line itself, and it makes it very high visibility, so you cannot lose your axe or your main primary tools in the dark, especially while camping. I think it's very functional, and it works well for me, and I think you should always have a lanyard on any kind of sharp object that you're going to be swinging, because the last thing you want to do is hurt someone around you or hurt yourself. And so that's why it's important to think through your cuts and think through what you're going to be doing with your sharp tool. I've used this wood. I've used this on a lot of different woods, a lot of dead wood, processing wood. I've chopped a lot of different things. I've really put the hurt on this actual axe blade. I have actually chipped the blade a few times. It's barely there because I actually got it out, but there's a very small chip there left. It's not even really showing up. It's very, very small. Where is it? It's so small I can't even see it. It's right around here. There's a very small chip in the actual blade.
And there are other smaller chips within the blade, just from usage over time. But I've tried to get them out, and then it did have a sharper corner, but I did shear the corner off of the actual blade while using it. So it is one of those kind of knives that when you start using it, it will start getting worn away, and you just need to keep it up. But I've had this axe for quite a long time, and used it quite a bit, and taken it on very many adventures. And I really do prefer this axe over really any other tool or axe that I own. It's a very functional and workhorse axe. You could really put a lot of hurt on this axe and do a lot of chopping. The only negative downside is the handle is very short, but of course if it's a backpacking tool, you're going to be putting it in and out of your backpack or strapping it onto your actual backpack. So the handle is a factor. I do like longer handles on axes, and this does have a very short handle, so it does limit how much swing and things you can do with this axe and how much force you can put on it, and it does bring your hand relatively close to whatever you're chopping. So if you are chopping on large copious amounts of wood, if you miss, that wood will come down and it will bang on your knife handle, thus maybe bang on your knuckles. So that is just something to be cautious of when you're swinging an axe for usage. But I've not ever hurt myself using this axe. I did actually I did slice open my thumb like a very long time ago. I was doing something very dumb, and I was trying to split a piece of wood, and it slipped down, and I literally stabbed the top of my thumb, and I cut through my finger and into my fingernail, which was very painful, and I did not get stitches for it, which was a very dumb thing. But it has since disappeared, and it's actually the reason why it has disappeared is because at the time the blade was so sharp because I recently buffed it. I not only did I sharpen it, I took a buffer and I buffed it, and it was so razor sharp that it literally slipped and hit my finger, sliced my finger, went into my finger, and I pulled it out, and it was so sharp that it didn't hurt my finger almost at all, and it healed up very nicely and cleanly, and so there's almost no mark there. Now, there's a little bit of a mark, but you can't really tell, and it's very, very minimal. And not that I'm trying to show my war wounds or anything, but just kind of one of those things, like, you know, be careful in what you're doing. I was doing something very dumb, and that was my fault, and so, you know, it's just one of those mistakes that you make when you're doing cutting, and you know, as much as scars and things are really cool to show all your friends, you know, you can also lose your finger if you're not careful enough, or lose a hand, or, you know, several fingers, and that's not good. So just be very mindful of what you're doing with your axe. There was one negative aspect of this blade that I don't like, and it's the sheath. The sheath really sucks. Gerber did a decent job of making the sheath. It has lasted a very long time, and you can see it's very well worn. And I've put it through the rigors, and obviously I've done different things with it where I melted it. The Velcro clasps still, but it's definitely getting worn away and getting really worn down. It's actually changed color. It's no longer black. It's more of like a blue jean black, I guess, if you want, because it's been weathered and rained on and poured on. I do try to keep this thing very clean, and taking it in and out of the actual sheath has just kind of worn away. The inside is starting to kind of fall apart a little bit. It's starting to kind of come apart. Luckily, they put a kind of a stopper here for the actual blade, and it functions relatively well for actually holding the blade all together. I would prefer something else. I have yet to actually buy anything else for this actual axe to keep it in, to keep the razor sharp edge from whatever. This is just what I had at the time. And usually I use a carabiner, and I just clip up here and I clip it to my pack, or I'll stick it actually in my rucksack or whatever I have, whatever I'm doing, and it functions relatively well. Nothing to write home about, but definitely okay. Could be better. Leaves a lot to be desired. But yeah, it'll function for now until I find a better method. Yeah, I really do love this axe blade, and I really do think that it is a fantastic buy. You should go out and get one if you're really considering getting an axe for backpacking or for camping, or especially car camping. This would be a great camp axe for that. I have actually worn away the actual logo for Gerber over many years of service, and you can see just like how much rubbing it does. There is one thing I wish that, just to kind of preserve the actual blade, I wish that the metal kind of came out a little bit more on these, and it kind of came up. I know on the newer models, or Fisker sells a model that actually has like a little bit deeper of a wedge, and it actually bisects the plastic. Because there's so much rub on the plastic over time, it could fracture the plastic through the head and render the actual axe useless. But it has been working for now, and that's that's fine. Doesn't really bother me all that much, but it's just one of those things you start thinking about with the knife. But that titanium nitride coating has really held up really well, and I've actually left this axe out by accident. And because I didn't have a night cord on it, I could not find it in the dark, and I left it out on the ground. And that night it did rain, a very light rain. And when I came out the next day, I found the knife laying on the ground, or the axe on the ground, and I did pick it up. And there was a mild rust along the buffed part of the actual blade. But with buffing and cleaning it came right off, and there was nothing wrong with the actual blade itself. It did rust up a little bit back here, and there is actually a little bit of pitting and rust back here, but it's nothing really bad. But it's just to be expected with knives that you use, or I mean axes that you use a lot. But that titanium nitride coating, the coating that they have on here, maybe it's not even titanium nitride coating, maybe just some sort of coating. I just call it Tynide just because that's what it looks like. It does help resist whatever the rust from forming up on the actual axe, which is really nice, and I really do love that. And these axes are really designed to last a long time, and I really have to reward Fiskars and Gerber for doing such an outstanding job for making an axe that lasts as long as it does. And for me, for having this axe for that long, it really does show how much test for time it really does. Well, that's it. Gerber Pack Axe. Amazing. You should go out and buy yourself one, really highly recommended by me and by my channel. And I really feel like everybody should go out there and get one. It's a beautiful blade, beautiful knife. But that's all I got for now, and that's all I got on this. If you guys like my reviews, let me know. Let me know what you like, what you don't like, and I'll try to update everything as I use gear. I'm going to try to update it and keep you guys in the loop. If anything ever happens, or if anything ever breaks, or if I find out something amazing about the piece of equipment that I'm using, I'll generally let people know. And so, as I always say, be safe out there and don't cut yourselves. Later.